Hi, fourth grade. Here I am, lesson 6 of unit 1. I'm on page 15 of my student activity book, my SAB. So today we're actually going to go through 2 lessons. We're going to go through lesson 6 and lesson 7 of unit 1. So what we're looking at here is adding large numbers, adding 4-digit currently numbers. So they have the numbers here. I do want you to practice reading these out loud, so go ahead and do that now. 5,879, 6,754. Remembering you always say the word thousand when you get to the comma, and that's the only time you say it. Alrighty, so looking at this is a lot, right? There's a lot of stuff going on here. What this page is trying to tell us is that there are many different ways to add up 2 large numbers. This one here probably looks the most familiar to you. Let's check it out. So on the top here, they call it the new groups above method, which basically means that we are carrying or regrouping up to the top. This is the one that I'm going to require you to be able to show me how to do. So this is the one that we'll focus on the most. Let's see what step 1 looks like. Let's zoom in a little bit here. So step 1, we start in the ones place, always with this method. 9 plus 4 equals 13. So we write the 3 from the 13 down here, and then the 1, which is in the tens place, goes up to the tens. 1 plus 7 plus 5 is added up to get 13 again here in step 2. So we write the 3 down below and carry or regroup the 1. Okay, and then going to the hundreds place. 8 plus 7 equals 15 plus that 1, 16, right? The 6 in the hundreds place, carry the 1, regroup the 1 to the thousands place. Alrighty, and then last but not least, we are adding up the thousands place. 5 plus 6 equals 11 plus 1 equals 12. So we have our answer of, go ahead and read it out loud with me, please. 12,633. Good. Now this is the method that I want to see you using. This is what we often call the traditional method. It is kind of nice though to look at some other methods just to see if they trigger anything in our brains, anything that we're like, oh, is that why that works? Or that's an interesting way to look at it. Method number 2 is called new groups below instead of above, and it has them regrouping the numbers underneath. I don't want you to use this method for me. Here's why. In all my years of teaching 4th grade, I've seen a lot of students mess these numbers up. They get in the way and they accidentally write them just a little bit too low. And all of a sudden, it's part of your answer instead of just a regrouped or carried number. So I don't really like to see my students using that method, but it's interesting to look at it there for a second and know that you might see other people doing that, or you might want to try it when you don't have me as a teacher. Okay, section 3, show subtotals method right to left. So this is kind of cool. What it does is it looks at each of the places and you write the total, the subtotal of that place. So for example, in the ones place, 9 plus 4 was 13. So they just wrote a 13 down there. Then they moved to the tens place. They can't just do 7 plus 5 though. Here's where it's a little tricky because the 7 and the 5 are in the tens place. They're worth 70 and 50. That's their value. So 70 plus 50 is 120, and they wrote that underneath the 13. And then moving to the hundreds place, 800 plus 700 equals 1,500. Moving to the thousands place, 5,000 plus 6,000 equals 11,000. And then you add those all up. I like this method. I like the way it looks. I like the way that it, in my head and my brain, it just makes sense. You don't have to regroup, which is handy. But the problem with this method is that it's hard to keep all these numbers lined up. And if you can't keep them lined up, You're going to have some errors happening because they're kind of squishing into each other's business. So I don't really want to see you using this method all the time. You're welcome to use it to check your work or use it once in a while. But again, this one, I've seen way too many errors happen with this method, but it's really nice to see how it works and to see that you can just break things down so easily and then have them lined up. Okay, so you're going to be doing some practice. I'm going to do number 7 along with you right now using that first method, the method that I want you to use. So we have, let's read this together, 3,786. 6,335. Okay, so looking at the ones place first, 6 plus 5 equals 11. So I'm going to write the 1 down there, and then the one that would normally be in the tens place of the 11 gets carried or regrouped up there. 8 plus 3 plus 1. So 8 plus 3 is 11, plus 1 is 12. So again, I'm going to write the 2 down here, regroup the 1. 7 plus 1 plus 3 is 11, because 10 plus 1 is 11. 1 down there, 1 regrouped. 6 plus 3 plus 1, 9, 10. 10, and then a comma. Now, 4th graders, I'm going to grab a piece of lined paper here real quick. And here's why. I would like you to start looking at these problems with lines. And here's why. If you have all these numbers, it's very easy to get them mixed up. So I'm going to set up a problem here with my lined paper, and then I'll show you it because I realize I might be off camera here for just a second. 5,362 plus 3,746. Now notice how I set that up. Each number, each digit has its own lane. This is the stay in your lane approach. We want to make sure that as we're adding these up, we don't have anything going over or swimming into the other's lane. A lot of you are swimmers. You know, I'm sure, about the importance of staying in your lane and not going into somebody else's swimming area. So you can kind of think of it that way as well. 12 plus 6 equals 8, making sure 8 stays in my ones place. 6 plus 4 equals 10. There I've got the 0. Carry the 1. Look how much nicer that is. Everything's so lined up. 7 plus 3 plus 1. 10 plus 1 is 11. And then 5 plus 3 plus 1, 8 plus 1 equals 9. So when we do this in small groups, we'll often be using lined paper. And there we have 9,108. Remember that we always have 3 digits after the comma. And when we're reading the number, we only say 1,000 once, and it is when we get to the comma. Okay, on this page, again, you could do maybe 1 or 2 from this section, making sure you recopy them onto paper with lines on it. I want you to use lined paper. And then you can just write the answer in on your book. There are some word problems here. Go ahead and do those. Go ahead and do 16 and 17. Those are really good practice thinking about money and how that relates to adding large numbers. Now, like I told you, we're also looking at lesson 7 today because lesson 7 just basically extends this. Look, they had to do it on the side. There's so much going on this page. This is page 17. And you can see that they're using new groups above method, new groups below method, and showing the subtitles, the subtotals method. So this is all the same. It's just that we're getting larger numbers. So instead of having numbers that have 4 digits, we now have 6 digits. Otherwise, it's the same. Do you remember which method I want you to use? That one, new groups above. That's what we're using. We're using the nice traditional way of adding large numbers. This is our last page in the lesson before you move on to your other things for math today. So again, here they're showing this with new groups below. Don't really need you to stare at that for too long. It probably will get confusing. But I do want you to complete 2 of these. It's so important that we practice this. We're going to practice number 6 and number 7. Okay? Number 6 I'll do with you. Number 7 you'll do on your own. What kind of paper did I say you have to have? Oh yeah, lined paper. You have lined paper in your composition books, so you could, in theory, use one of those as your math notebook. I'll probably have you do that. So yeah, go ahead and do that. One of your composition books could be your math notebook. So the reason why I am making you use lined paper, and yes, you'll have to show me this, so you'll have to do it, is I want each of the digits to have a place value lined up so that they can stay in their lane. And then when you have another number that has less digits than this number, we have to make sure that the digit in the ones place actually lives in the ones place. The digit in the tens place, yep, it's in the tens. In the hundreds place, there we go, and in the thousands place. So don't really look at this up here. They did it a little differently. It gets confusing what they did. I want you to keep everything in the correct place. This is what you'll have to do to show me that you know how to do this. Alrighty, my friends. 2 plus 9 equals 11. Carry the 1. 9 plus 3 is 12. Plus 1 equals 13. Regroup the 1. 7 plus 1 equals 8. No regrouping there. 7 plus 6 equals 13. Regroup the 1. 4 plus 1 equals 5. And 3 plus nothing equals 3. Where do I put the comma? Oh yeah, right before three numbers. Let's read this together. Ready? Begin. 353,831. Remember, we talked about groups when you're reading a number. Group that together and just read that. 353,831. Alrighty, my friends. So on your paper, you will just write the answer. All of your work is on scrap paper, and by scrap paper, I mean paper that has lines. Complete 7, just like we did with number 6, please. And then you can do number 8, if you have time. But I'm okay if you have to skip 8 if you are running out of time today, since we did 2 lessons. Don't worry, you'll only have to do 1 math expressions lesson today, even though we covered the content of 2. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, 4th graders.